What's up, book nerds, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a little book review and talk of the new Colleen Hoover book. It Starts With Us. I actually did a whole video around a year ago now, or maybe like 9 months, on It Ends With Us, and I'll link that in the description below. But to just give a quick little recap, It Ends With Us is about a girl named Lily, and she fell in love with a boy named Atlas when she was younger. He was homeless, and she lived in a house with her parents, and her father was domestically abusive to her mother. She fell in love with Atlas around 15, 16, and he left her, and it was actually bad. Like separation. The father ended up finding Atlas in his 16-year-old daughter's bed and beat him so much so that he had to go to the hospital. Flash forward many years, Lily went through college and moved to Boston. Atlas went into the military, was a Marine, and also moved to Boston, but they didn't really know that about each other. They did have a connection to Boston, which is kind of why they both went there. Lily just moves to Boston, meets a boy named Ryle, falls in love with him, but then it turns out he is domestically abusive. He slaps her, he pushes her down the stairs, and then he bites her, tries to force himself on her by like choking her, like almost rapes her. Very terrible, very sad. So at the end of the story of It Ends With Us, she finds out that she's pregnant. She comes back into contact with Atlas, which is kind of in Ryle's crazy mind why they got into these fights that were physical in the first place, all because of Atlas, their history together, but really it was just because he's a douchebag. Lily ends up choosing her daughter and saying goodbye to Ryle, divorcing him, and so that's why it ends with us, because it's Lily and her daughter. So that is how It Ends With Us goes. Very good. Go read it if you haven't before. Now, to get into this book. At the end of It Ends With Us, Lily and Atlas run into each other. And Lily has her 1-year-old daughter, and they briefly say some things, but it ends with Lily saying that she'll text Atlas. So that is where this book starts off. So the day kind of drags on. Lily goes to work at her flower shop. Atlas now has 2 different restaurants that he owns and is a chef at, and Lily just kind of contemplates whether or not to text him because she views it as kind of, well, it is going to be a problem for Ryle, and right now she's trying to co-parent with Ryle and limit all of his physical outbursts, but Ryle still has hope for them as a couple, and Lily has made it very clear that she in no way wants a relationship past co-parenting with Ryle, but he just seems to think that if he stays on his best behavior, she will eventually forgive him and take him back. But she has learned from her father that that is not how domestically abusive people work. So that relationship is definitely off limits, but she just doesn't text Atlas like all day because she's just very worried that if she does and starts some sort of relationship with Atlas, it will take off and it will cause problems with her and Ryle, and therefore her and her daughter, Emmy. Later that day, Atlas kind of texts her and she briefly texts back. It turns out that Atlas is like all in this time. He's never gonna leave her again, and brings her lunch, and they just start talking again, and it kind of starts with FaceTimes, and it's very cute. But on the side, Atlas's mom, who he hasn't seen in like 10 years or something crazy like that. Again, Atlas was homeless. He had a terrible home life. He was like kicked out, treated terribly. He was also abused, etc. That's why he was homeless at the age of 17, 18. His mom contacts him again after a lot of time. Up until his mom contacts him, he keeps getting like break-ins and vandalism at his 2 restaurants. He looks at one of the security footages and sees that it looks like a young boy, and he didn't spell the word asshole right, and he like explicitly said Atlas's name, so he's thinking like it has to be someone he knows, but he doesn't know anyone who would like dislike him or his restaurants enough to like vandalize it and then break in and steal croutons. And the fact that this kid stole croutons makes him think that it was probably something that he used to go through with being hungry, and homeless, so he just doesn't call the police. And this happens throughout the course of a few weeks. Lily and Atlas on the side start FaceTiming more and talking. Atlas and Lily go on a date. Atlas wants to take her to a nice restaurant he's never been to before, even though he's a chef. They go on this date, but Lily is exhausted and sleeps through basically the whole thing. But while she's sleeping, Atlas reads some of her journal entries from when she was younger about their first kiss, and it just makes him very sad but very happy at the same time. And then she wakes up and they end up talking a little bit about it, and then he drives her home and takes her to like a quick fast food burger spot, just because they obviously missed the reservation because she slept. So then he takes Lily home, does not kiss her. They haven't kissed since they were like 16 and 18. It's been a while, but just takes her home, and then he goes and tries to meet whoever keeps breaking in, because at this point his mom has contacted him again and said she thinks it's Atlas's brother. And up until this point, Atlas didn't even know he had a brother, but yes, he does. So the mom told him that your brother, who's 12 years old, has run away from home here in Boston, and if he tries to contact you, let me know, bring him back to me. Atlas is like, A, I don't want to bring him back to you, but B, I cannot believe you never told me my whole life that I didn't have a brother. Like, I would have been there for him. I would have never just abandoned him. That's not who I am. I'm not like you. Is so mad, but then he puts two and two together and it's like, oh, that's probably who's vandalizing and breaking into my restaurant. Makes so much sense that he would know my name and be angry with me if he thinks I abandoned him. So he, after the date, goes there, confronts this little boy. Turns out it is his brother. His name is Josh, and he is 12 years old. And so Atlas kind of feeds him and then brings him home and puts him to bed, that sort of thing. So that relationship starts. After the date and everything, they keep just talking and seeing each other. Their work lives are very busy. Lily is taking care of her daughter and trying to skirt around Ryle, and now Atlas has a brother who he is caring for. Also, Atlas has two kind of best friends at the restaurant, and one of those friends has a young son, also Josh's age of 12. His name is Theo, and Theo's kind of like Atlas's therapist. Atlas kind of talks to him more than anyone else, especially about Lily. So that's really cute. That relationship between Josh and Theo starts to kind of form as well. Then they go on another sort of date, sort of hangout. Atlas and Lily end up sleeping together, having sex at Lily's house when Emmy is away. He has to end up leaving because he now has Josh to go take care of, and then banging on her door first thing in the morning is someone, and she doesn't even like think, so she like quickly gets up, puts on some clothes because she was obviously naked from the prior night's situation with Atlas, runs to the door, opens it, and there is Ryle, and he storms in and he's all upset, and he sees two different wine glasses and Lily's like underpants strewn about on the couch, knows what happened last night and kind of freaks out, leaves, comes back, and like just asks if it was Atlas, like if it was him. He doesn't even say Atlas's name. And then Lily didn't even say anything, and he takes the hint, freaks out, kind of slams Lily against the door, is like threatening her, looks like he's about to hit her, but then Lily's like obviously scared for her life, and Ryle like realizes what he just did after almost a year and a half of not touching her, not hurting her, the whole facade that he would never do that again. Does it, shows his true colors, and then leaves, super mad. So within the next few days, Ryle like doesn't talk to Lily, but then he ends up coming to her flower shop and kind of yelling at her again, and she makes one of her coworkers kind of stay nearby because she's obviously scared for her life. And then after that, Ryle texts her some very bad, mean texts in the middle of the night saying like, I'm gonna take custody over my daughter, because at this point Lily has kind of full custody, kind of, but they didn't go through the courts. They kind of made this agreement on the side, and Ryle gets to have 2 days with her, but no overnights yet. And Lily has expressed that that's because Emmy is only 1 and cannot speak, and she's not comfortable with Emmy sleeping over at Ryle's house until Emmy can say what goes on there in case Ryle does in fact hit his daughter. So yeah, just a terrible situation. I couldn't even imagine like having to do that, or like seeing your pride and joy, your daughter, like the one true thing you love more than anything, go off with someone who you know could hurt them, and who might likely because he's hurt you. Just terrifying. This happens and Lily's like, finally, I've had enough. So at her first birthday party, at Emmy's first birthday party, tells him like, I'm gonna tell the lawyers from here on out, because she's also never really reported Ryle for anything, just because she wanted to make it as smooth as possible. Ryle is a surgeon, so she just didn't want his whole career to get upturned, and also didn't know like if, because he had such a clean record, she would really get full custody rights to her daughter. Even if they went to court, like it might just be a lot of money to get a worse situation, co-parenting situation for her. So she's never really reported it, but she's like, from here on out, because you again forced me against a wall by the neck, then you stormed in my workplace, and then you sent me some very terrible text, like, I'm reporting everything from here on out. On Atlas's end, Josh and Atlas's mother, Alice actually contacts her. She wants to take Josh back, and so Atlas is going to do that because he really has no rights as just being the brother. So he brings Josh back to her, and she hits him and like is screaming at him, and Atlas is like, I don't care if I'm gonna go to jail like for technically kidnapping my brother. This is not okay. I'm not leaving him here. Goes back, takes Josh back, and takes him home. The mom is furious, but Atlas just doesn't really give a shit. And so then Atlas enrolls Josh in school. Josh and Theo become good friends, both in school and outside of school, spend a lot of time together at the restaurant. So then after this all happens with the mom, Josh kind of says something to Atlas, and while Lily's there, that he just wants to live with his dad. Like, he doesn't want to live with Atlas, he doesn't want to live with his mom. Like, he just has been asking Atlas to find his dad for him and bring him there, etc. So Atlas makes a 3-hour drive with Josh to his dad, and Josh sees that his dad is fine. He actually comes out of his house to his car, is drinking, that sort of thing, and Josh realizes that his dad, when he was younger, really did abandon him, and it's not that he's sick or poor or incapable of coming back to see him, it's just that he doesn't want to. He's not making the effort. He could. He's a well-abled human being who could make the effort to see his son, but he continues to choose not to. And Josh realizes in that moment that his dad doesn't love him either, his mom doesn't love him, neither of them treat him right, and his best bet is Atlas, because Atlas just found out about him and has treated him and loved him better than anyone has ever before in his 12 years of life. So Josh decides to stay with Atlas. They go back to Atlas's house for good. Now, we are at the end of the book, and 2 different things happen. First, Lily sits down with Ryle and Alyssa and her husband. Alyssa is Ryle's sister, and her husband, Marshall, is Ryle's best friend. And Lily basically says, A, I want you to take anger management classes, get your shit figured out, but like, you need to do that because you clearly have issues, and I'm not going to be terrified for my life or my daughter's life for the rest of my life. So you have to do that. I'm demanding that of you. B, from here on out, I'm reporting anything you do that is like abusive at all to my lawyers. They will know. C, I no longer want you to have unsupervised visits with our daughter, Emmy. He was having unsupervised visits, just not overnights yet. But from here on out, they all have to be supervised until further notice. Basically, until she can talk, and that has to be the rule. You need to agree, otherwise, like, I'm taking you to court with everything I have. I will sell everything I have in order to gain full custody of our daughter, and then I will take her away from you, and you will never be able to see her again. And basically, Alyssa and Marshall, his sister and best friend, back up Lily on this, and are like, yeah, we will help her, and we no longer are on your side in this. Like, we've seen all the bad things you've done to her and continue to do. Like, you need to change, and she has every right to ask for these things from you. Ryle basically agrees, and that's that situation. Atlas's situation, he has a sit-down meeting with his mom about Josh and basically asks for sole custody of Josh, for all of his rights, parenting rights, from her to be transferred to Atlas for Josh. And then says, you know, I don't want to take you out of his life. If you want to be in his life, if you want to make the effort, that's wonderful, that's great. Let's have dinner here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at one of his restaurants, and we'll make this a weekly thing. If you don't show up, that's fine. Me and Josh will still be here every week at this time, at this place. Please show up and we can have family dinners. So that's that situation. So it actually ends wonderfully. And in between this, just so you know, Atlas is the king every girl wants and deserves, and just, you know, treats Lily so wonderfully. And it's just so cute, and I just love love. So it's very like lighthearted. Their love is, obviously they still have very hard situations, but they do talk a little bit about their past and kind of different things that had happened and what that meant to them and how much they've loved each other basically their whole lives. So just so good. So in between all these big events, their love is the main story. And then kind of at the end of the book, it flash forwards 5 months, because that's when Lily said she would move in with Atlas, because they're taking it slow, even though they've been in love with each other like their whole lives, whatever. So then Lily moves in with Atlas, and it's a big moment because not only is Lily moving in, so is her daughter Emmy, and Josh is there, so they're kind of having a family of 4 now, and Ryle just has to kind of agree to it. Like, he doesn't have to, but Atlas is going to be an amazing person, father figure in Emmy's life, and obviously Ryle is Emmy's true father, but he lost some privileges. So anyway, it's a big moment, and then the very end of the book ends with Atlas and Lily getting married, and that's like, I think, a year and a half after their first date, whatever. So it's like a year after they move in together. It's their wedding day, and it ends with Atlas reading his vows that he wrote her, and it's very, very wholesome and adorable, and I love it. I love them, love their relationship. That, in a nutshell, is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I'm obsessed with it. I didn't read it for, how many months has it been since it come out? A few months, because I thought it was basically It Starts With Us as in Lily and Atlas at a young age again, which I had kind of gotten a lot of in It Ends With Us, so I was like, I'm just not so excited. But it was more the present day, them as adults, than it was them as children. And It Starts With Us is actually nothing to do with Lily or Atlas. It's about Atlas and his brother Josh, and how their family kind of starts with those two, and those two are going to change each other's lives as well as the rest of whatever offspring they bring into the world, because they're going to love their children and each other right, something that their mom and their fathers could not do for them. So it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I love it so much. Everyone should go read it. Colleen Hoover. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this book talk. Please let me know what you'd like to hear from me next. Have a great day, week, month, life, etc. You know the drill. Okay, bye. Oh, you know what I forgot to say? Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out, just so you know. Everybody who makes YouTube videos says that, but I would just appreciate it.